Why the sky is so far away. A Nigerian folktale retold by Miss Tree. In the beginning, the sky was very close to the earth. And in that time, men and women did not have to sow crops and harvest them. They did not have to prepare soup and cook rice. And the children did not have to carry water from the stream or gather sticks for the fire or do any household chores at all. The fresh, clean air was so filled with nourishment that anybody, in a moment of hunger, could just reach up, take a piece of the sky and eat it. It was delicious. Sometimes the sky tasted like goat stew, sometimes like roasted corn, sometimes like ripe pineapple. One even got to taste delicious cakes and puddings, as the sky was so full of delicious eats and treats. There was also very little work to do, so people spent their time weaving beautiful cloth, carving handsome statues, making beautiful instruments on which to play, and telling tales of wisdom and adventure passed down by the ancestors. And there were always festivals to prepare for. The musicians practiced all day long, the mask makers carved their masks in secret, and everywhere the children watched the preparations in wonder. The king of the land was called the Oba, and his court was magnificent, up on a hill, just past the central village tree. At the royal palace there was a whole team of servants dedicated to cutting and shaping the sky for festivals and ceremonies. However, the sky on looking down was growing angry because people were being very wasteful. Most often they took more than they could possibly eat and then threw the leftovers onto rubbish heaps.
I am sick and tired of seeing myself soured and spoiled on every rubbish bin in the land,
brooded the sky. Something had to be done. One morning at sunrise, the sky turned very dark. Thick black clouds gathered over the Oba's palace, and a great voice boomed out from above.
Oba, mighty one, your people have wasted my gifts. I am tired of seeing myself on heaps of rubbish everywhere. Look, your village is covered with bits of delicious sky, and the waste piles keep growing bigger and bigger. I warn you, do not waste my gifts any longer, or they will no longer be yours to take.
The Oba, in terror, sent messages carrying the sky's warning to every corner of the land. In every village, people were told about the sky's unhappiness. The children, who loved to snack on sweet bits of sky, were warned never to take a piece of sky unless they were truly hungry. People were very careful. That is, for a while. Then the time arrived for the greatest festival of the year. It was the festival that celebrated the great power of the mighty Oba. The most important palace dancers performed all through the night, and the Oba himself, in ceremonial robes, danced for his subjects. By the 5th day, there was rejoicing in every home and on every street. The Oba knew, though, that with the dancing and the merriment, people might forget the sky's warning. So he made sure no one took more sky than they absolutely needed. Now, there was a woman in this kingdom who was never satisfied. She could barely move when she wore all the weighty coral necklaces her husband had bought her. But she still craved more necklaces. She had 11 children of her own, but she felt her house was empty. And most of all, how Adese loved to eat. On the very last night of the celebration, Adese and her husband were invited to the Ober's palace. There they danced and ate well past midnight. What an evening, Adese thought later, standing in her own garden again. How I wish I could relive tonight. The drumming I heard, the riches I saw, and the food I ate. She looked up at the sky longingly, and hoping to taste again the cocoyams and meat stew the sky had offered, she took a huge piece to eat. She had only just finished 1/3 of the sky when she could swallow no more. "What have I done?" wailed Adese. "I cannot throw this away." In fear and desperation, she called for help. "Otolo!" she screamed, calling her husband. "Otolo, please come and finish this piece of sky for me." Her husband, exhausted from dancing all night and stuffed with the sky he had eaten at the Ober's palace, could manage only 2 bites. "Adese, this is too much for my full stomach. I can eat no more." "Wake the children!" screamed Adese in panic. "Wake them up now!" Now the children had spent all night at the masquerade and the party after their dinner, and most of them were still too full to even nibble at their mother's piece of sky. The neighbours were called, and the neighbours' neighbours were called, and the neighbours' neighbours' neighbours were called. But Adese still held in her hand a big chunk of sky. "What does it matter?" she said finally. "One more piece of sky on a rubbish heap? And just to make sure it didn't matter, she buried the leftovers in the rubbish bin at the back of her house. Suddenly the ground shook with thunder. Lightning creased the sky above the Ober's palace, but no rain fell.
"Ober, mighty one,"
came the voice from above.
"your people have not treated me with respect. Now my sky will leave you and move far away."
"But what will the people eat?" cried the mighty Ober. "How will we live?"
"You must learn how to plough the land and gather crops, and hunt in the forest. Perhaps through your own labour you will learn not to waste these gifts."
No one in the land slept very well that night. The rising sun uncovered the heads of men and women and children, peering over rooftops and through windows, straining to see if the sky had really left them. It truly had. It had sailed upward, far, far out of their reach. From that day onward, men, women, and children had to grow their own food. They tilled the land and planted crops and harvested them. And people were very careful, at least for a while. And far above them rested the sky, distant and blue, just as it does today. The end.